Marriage must be so much bigger that we're going to help two people fight less and just get along better. The theological richness of marriage needs to drive it. When marriage is going well, everything else goes better. And when marriage goes poorly, everything else goes worse. Welcome to the Grace Marriage Podcast. I'm Brad Rhoads.
And I'm Marilyn Rhoads. We're here to help you build a marriage that's stronger, more connected, and full of grace.
I'm Rick Dayton, joining Brad and Marilyn as we bring you weekly conversations designed to inspire and equip you to live intentionally in your marriage.
We'll share practical tips, powerful stories, and strategies to help you and your spouse grow closer and thrive together.
So whether you're just starting out or have been married for years, there's always room to grow. Let's do this together. This is the Grace Marriage Podcast.
This is Brad Rhoads with the Grace Marriage Podcast, here with a good friend and somebody that I love working to help marriage alongside, Jeremy Bennett. And Jeremy and I are going to be having some conversations regarding key issues relating to marriage, both in the home and in the church. So Jeremy works with churches all the time, talks to couples all the time. So hopefully you'll benefit with what we get to hear and we see the challenges and answers. So Jeremy, glad to have you on the podcast.
Yep, it's good to see you again.
So where are we going today?
Yeah, I would like to talk a little bit, just getting fresh off of a conference where there were a lot of church leaders. One of the things that I noticed is from a marriage ministry perspective, a lot of times when the church wants to launch a new marriage ministry, they're looking to really launch a program or run a program, not really build a ministry. And what I'm finding is there's a big difference between those two. And number one, it starts with vision. So I want to talk a little bit today about a bigger vision for marriage, number one, because without a bigger vision for marriage, you're not going to have a big vision for marriage ministry. And then secondly, talking about the big vision for marriage ministry. So Brad, tell me, what would you say from a church standpoint, a bigger vision for marriage? What does it look like? And how would you suggest, or how would you help a church leader cast a big vision for marriage?
Well, it's multifaceted. You think first we'll start the theological side. Marriage preceded the fall, preceded the church. Bible ends with the wedding supper of the Lamb. It's the only relationship analogized to the relationship of Christ and his church. It's one of only two covenants, the covenant we have with God and the covenant we make with another human being. So one, having a vision theologically, people realize that it's just, marriage must be so much bigger that we're going to help two people fight less and just get along better. I mean, it is the theological richness of marriage needs to drive it. So it's not just this side relational ministry, but it is a core ministry to the church. So that's the theological side. Now, on the pragmatic side, just think about it. What impact does the health of a marriage have financially, with kids, with youth? If marriage breaks down, everything breaks down. So that you have a vision for marriage, this is so important. It's so important theological. It's so important to kids. It's so important to youth. It's so important to finances. It is literally foundational so that you understand the importance of it and not just say, hey, it's going to be the ministry of conscience that every now and then we'll do something for marriage because we know marriage is important. We better do something every now and then. But there's actually a strategy. There's actually a ministry, that there's discipleship going on. Because where do you spend time and money on? Where your vision is. Where your vision is. So if you really have a big vision for marriage, you're going to have a big budget for marriage. If you have a big vision for marriage, you're going to have big staffing in marriage. If you have a small vision for marriage, you're going to have a small budget to no budget. And then you're going to do a program every now and then. You're going to scratch your head while it's not working.
Yeah. What do you, from a standpoint of a bigger vision for marriage, how would you cast a bigger vision for marriage? Because in the church, we have a vision till death do us part. It's a great vision, but it's not a very exciting one. We want to help people, and we say, hey, we don't want you to destroy your family. We don't want you to go through divorce. And those are good things to say. And motivating out of guilt probably has its place. Motivating out of fear probably has its place. But how do you motivate a couple for a bigger vision for their marriage?
Yeah, and motivating out of fear, guilt, it doesn't really work. It's more of a temporary deal. You know, if when I was in the law, I mean, they found that actually putting people in prison doesn't actually keep people from committing crimes. I mean, there's a place for the punishment side of things, but it doesn't motivate them long term to be better. So the vision needs to be a vision of beauty, a vision of beauty. I remember a friend of mine. It reminds me of a story. He big life goal guy, real intentional guy. And he kept all his life goals, and he said, "Oh my goodness," he said, "like my life goal financially," and he showed what's his goal, and then personally and health, and then he said, "Brad, my vision for my marriage is the marriage lasts till death do us part." He said, "I have a growth acceleration mentality in every aspect of my life, except other than my relationship with Christ, the most important aspect." So he erased it and said, "I'm going to grow closer to my wife and enjoy her more every year for the rest of my life. And our last year will be the best year of our marriage." So in order that vision, all of a sudden, he signed up for a cooking class with her. They started dating each week. They started doing things because all of a sudden that vision drove what he did. And if a church doesn't have a big vision for marriage, it's not going to drive what they do. And even if they start marriage ministry, they're going to quit it. Even if it goes well, they're going to quit it because we're going to do something else because they don't get the vision. They don't get how important it is. Now I started talking so much, I even forgot your question, Jeremy. Sorry about that.
Just about casting a bigger vision. How do we motivate people to see something that is different, maybe from what they've seen in their own family with their own parents, what they're seeing in the outside world? What does it look like to cast a vision for a gospel saturated, gospel reflecting marriage that impacts not only your kids, but impacts your community, impacts the culture? Because it all flows downhill from marriage.
Yeah. It basically telling couples, how's it sound to do life with your very best friend, to be connected, to just really intentionally enjoy one another physically, to do fun things together, to have such a fun, romantic, cool marriage with such a neat vibe that people want to be around you and want to be drawn to Jesus by how you live it out. And what got us into marriage ministry is other people helped us have that marriage. And our first introduction to marriage ministry was a couple that said, "Well, you do our premarital instead of our pastor." I said, "Why?" They said, "What you have looks fun. So whatever you're doing, tell us, and we want to do the same thing because what you have looks fun." So basically casting a vision where God is getting glory just by watching you two be together. They're seeing physical affection. They're seeing emotional connection. They're seeing laughter. They're seeing sacrifice. They're seeing support in times of trial. They're seeing all this beauty. People are drawn to beauty. And so why has marriage declined over the last 50 years? Because people aren't drawn to things that aren't beautiful. And we've allowed marriage not to be beautiful. And the church has played a role in it because if the church doesn't have a marriage ministry and the church isn't making something happen, it ain't going to happen. It's going to be a conform to the patterns of the world. And with this attitude that marriage is supposed to work, and unless somebody's in crisis, they don't need our help, that's not going to create beauty. That's not going to create vision. And that's not going to create investment.
Sure. And kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, from a vision standpoint, when churches or church leaders are looking for something to do for marriages, it typically is not carried by vision. It's carried by, "Oh, we need to find a program. We need to figure out something to help our couples." That's not the kind of discussion that they have in youth ministry. In youth ministry, it's, okay, what's our vision for youth? Okay, we're going to make this happen. We're going to hire staff. We're going to create a budget. We're going to create a strategy. We're going to create a schedule. For marriage ministry, a lot of times it's like, let's run a program. And running a program and running a ministry are not the same thing. A program is something a church runs. It has a curriculum. It has a promotion plan, an end date. It creates moments. It can be excellent. It can be well attended. It can be genuinely helpful. But when it ends, it ends. And from a ministry standpoint, it's something a church builds. It has a vision. It has a team. It has a culture. It doesn't have an end date. It doesn't just create those moments. It's creating formation for those couples. I mean, it shifts how a congregation thinks about marriage over time. And when one thing ends, there's something else that's following it. And the difference may not be just the curriculum. The same resource can be run as a program or built into a ministry, but the difference is the vision that's behind it, that's carrying it. Because otherwise we'll get lost in the details. We'll say, oh, we don't have enough budget. Well, no, we'll find the budget because we've got a vision for impacting marriages. So from a church standpoint, how do we help church leaders shift that thinking and that mentality as it relates to program versus pathway of discipleship?
Well, just ask yourself about all other ministries have consistent rhythms with events. Youth ministry, we have every Wednesday night, every Sunday night, whatever. Then we have camp, and then we have a game. Children's ministry, you have each week, and we have VBS. And then small group ministry, we have regular rhythms of getting together in small group with trainings and things like that. So every other ministry in the church is ongoing, and it's seen as integral. It's seen as not a beginning and an end. It's seen as just part of the vision and DNA of the church, except marriage. For some reason, 1 6-week study a year, go through one thing and it'll fix you for life. And then if you ever get in a bad spot, come back and do that one thing again. Now, I'm not saying those one things aren't good, but those one things have to be part of an overall discipleship shepherding strategy, not just the one thing, because life's just too intrusive. It just is. My dad just got out of the hospital. A friend of mine's son just died. Another friend of mine's son just died. If I don't have some ongoing strategy investment for my marriage, life's going to dominate both of us and drop us flat in our marriage. We've battled that the last 2 weeks. Unless the church has a strategy, a ministry that's ongoing, a discipleship shepherding, life's going to intrude on marriage, and marriage is going to stagnate.
Yeah, and then the vision not only changes the way we think, but it changes the way we talk. Because when we're in a program mentality, we're going to say things like, "Hey, we're running a marriage class this fall." Yeah. But if you're running a ministry, you're going to say, "This is how we disciple marriages at our church." Or you might say, "Hey, sign up for a marriage seminar." But a ministry mentality is going to say, "We believe marriages deserve ongoing investment." In programmatic language, "Hey, we're trying something new." And ministry is going to say, "No, this is a pathway, not an event." We don't do, short-term studies are great, but we're building something that lasts. And that's the ministry long-term.
Yeah, I love what Mark Dickinson, minister at Settle Memorial Methodist Church in Owensboro, said. I was in a room with him with his facilitators. And so he said, "How many people do you think are going to sign up?" He said, "Well, that's not really relevant. Marriage ministry should have always been part of this church. It is now part of this church. And whether we have 10 couples, 50 couples, 60 couples, marriage ministry is now core and part of Settle Memorial Methodist Church." And I love the answer. It's not like, hey, we're not going to accommodate a culture that's accustomed to not investing in marriage. We're going to start changing culture, even if it starts small.
Yeah, so this is bigger than a ministry. I mean, this is gospel impact, and I think that's how we have to see it. Like you said earlier, it's not just about making couples fight less. It's not just about making their communication better. It's about gospel impact.
Yeah, churches are never stronger than the marriages that make it up. I mean, they're just not. They can't be. I mean, when marriage is going well, everything else goes better. And when marriage goes poorly, everything else goes worse. Most societal problems are just downstream problems from breakdown of marriage and family. And while we haven't gone upstream and had a vision to play the long game, playing a short game by trying to get more butts in the seats by having a more attractional children and youth ministry, that's fine. And children and youth ministry have their place. But playing the long game, we're going to have solid gospel families that we build upon. I think it's a more effective strategy.
Yeah, the enemy seems to understand something that the church has been slow to act on.
Yeah,
which is when a marriage thrives, it becomes a living picture of the gospel.
Yeah,
and it's one of the most powerful witnesses that a church can display.
Yeah, so I've got if he's got 40 to 50% of marriages that end in divorce, and most of them look stagnant and non-gospel attractional, he said, do all you want everywhere else. You're gonna have trouble winning. And I mean, the good news is it's an amazing opportunity for the church, an amazing opportunity. Because if you ask 20 couples, do you want a better marriage? One of the two spouses in all 20 couples will say yes. If the church can serve those people, help those people, help them have better marriages, and you can honestly tell them a benefit of coming to our church is you're going to be less likely to experience crisis, less likely to have family breakdown, and you're going to enjoy your spouse more the rest of your life, the time you're at this church. I'll tell you, that's a good church strategy.
Yeah, and I would also tag on to that is don't forget your older people and don't discount the growth that they can have. As I was interacting with church leaders a week or so ago, one of the things that stuck out is many of the ones that I talked to came up talking about their younger couples.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, well, what about your older couples? Well, they probably, they probably wouldn't participate. And I think to a degree, we've kind of discounted that those couples or expect those couples to grow. Why do you think that is?
You know, one is, church is really focused. We want younger couples in the church. We want this. It's almost like I heard one guy say, like older couples, their job's more to fund the church than anything else. It's like they've got money. They write their tithe check. They help fund everything else. Um, I think you just kind of assume that, well, they've been married 30, 40 years. Everything's fine. I mean, the reality is it's not. The divorce rate, those 50 and above is doubled, 65 and above, it's tripled. Everything needs investment to survive and grow. And I tell you, it brings marriages alive when they invest. My father-in-law, before he died, he got in grace marriage with his wife. They were in their probably 70s at the time. And he said, wow, we're dating again. We're having fun again. We're being intentional in marriage again. We're not just going to sit in the couch and watch CNN or Fox, depending on our inclinations, and just do life side by side with no real life or beauty to it. So it's some, marriage investment is equally as important to somebody who's been married 50 years, have been married 1 year, and it's equally as effective because you can enjoy one another equally or more at age 70 than you can at age 30. Marriage is beautiful at all stages and ages. And the one encouraging thing at Grace Marriage, we've seen that couples sign up for Grace Marriage almost equal across generations. We have a lot of young couples. We have a lot of couples been married 40, 50 years. And when you bring those couples together, the younger couples love hearing from the older couples, and the older couples love the energy of the younger couples and love the opportunity to impact the younger couples.
Yeah. Yeah. So from a church leader perspective, don't discount that just because these older couples, empty nesters, senior saints have a lot of time together and quote unquote, every night's a date night. Don't assume that those are vibrant marriages. And the reality is if those couples have been walking with Jesus for that long, you would hope that those would be the most vibrant marriages that you have. And the younger generation or even the middle-aged generation are looking around at those marriages saying, I can't wait to have that because it looks fun.
And also it's like, you want to treat your older generation with respect, and you want to integrate them in the church and into the ministry. And while young at heart bus trips to Branson are fine and they connect people and there's a place for them, integrating them into the ministries of the church that they're being served and serving is good shepherding and good leadership, not just segmenting the older generation out and trying to find stuff that old people might want to do. I love when strategic coach, the business coaching program, that's when people are the most effective is when they quit. It's like you got a whole lifetime of wisdom and all these different things. And then we don't really seize on the opportunity of wisdom and help them keep growing and help what they've learned, help our younger generation as well. So when you're promoting Grace Marriage, when you're promoting your marriage ministry, specifically target the promotion toward not just the younger generation, but the older as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this episode, in the show notes, we're going to have a downloadable that we created that talks about this vision. It's kind of a practical framework for church leaders who want to build a lasting marriage ministry, not just run another program. So look for that in the show notes.
Yeah, because if you don't make it an ongoing marriage ministry, just randomly doing different things each year with no strategy, with you have no discipleship strategy, it's going to be hard to maintain because you're just going to keep doing new stuff, but there's no continuity of investment and growth.
Yeah. Yep. Great.
So, but yeah, Jeremy, thanks for asking the questions on vision. Our longing is marriage be held in honor among all. And I guess, how can something be held in honor among all if it's not worthy of a ministry? It's not worthy of a time. It's not worthy of a strategy. So we want to thank those churches that have stepped forward already. We want to thank you in advance for stepping forward and launching a marriage ministry. Remember, there was a time nobody had youth ministries. Now virtually every church does. There's a time that church didn't have marriage ministry, and there's going to be time that virtually every church does. So thank you for being part of the movement. Jeremy, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yep. See you.
Thank you for joining us on the Grace Marriage Podcast. We really hope you're feeling inspired to take intentional steps to grow in your marriage.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us spread the message of grace and reach even more couples.
And if you have a moment, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a lot to us and helps others discover the podcast.
To learn more about how you can grow in your marriage, visit us at gracemarriage.com. Keep building stronger, grace-filled marriages.
We'll see you next week on the Grace Marriage Podcast. Until then, keep growing in grace.